This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network, now in its 7th year. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey, hey everybody, this is Alex Bennett, and if you look there, it says the Ramble, and it says Alex, and that's me. I'm Alex. Hi, how are you? Good to see you. Nice to see you. Is my hat too close to the top? Let me see here. Let me see. I have to. At first of the week, I always have to readjust things. Then I try them before I go on the air, and then they're all screwed up. So let me see here. I wanna take this, and I want to go show settings, and then I want to go down a little bit. See, because my head's too high. See, and now my head is just right, I guess. And maybe I can go do a little of this, making myself a bit smaller, and then bring myself over just a tad, and there we go. Isn't that nice? That's the way it should have been all along, but that's not the way it set itself up. Anyway, where are we? Oh yeah, we're ready to go with our Wednesday show. What did I say? The Monday show, the Wednesday show. By the way, tonight Jack Bishop will not be on tonight. Why? He's going back into the hospital. Seems over the last 2 days he has fallen 3 times, and his doctor said, we're going to put you in a hospital and find out what this is all about. Although, according to him, it's not that serious. That it's hold on a second, I still got to adjust this. It's not that big a problem. Supposedly he thinks now it's a disc in his back that's causing it. I don't know that I agree with that assessment, but I ain't no doctor, okay? And today I went to the doctor. And why did I go to the doctor? Well, let me tell you why I went to the doctor. I went to the doctor. See, there we go. Then I gotta do that to get that off. Oh boy, this is ridiculous. Okay, I'm just trying to get this stuff right here. Okay, there we go. Okay, we'll leave it at that, and I'll fix it tomorrow. I gotta move the green. See, if I don't have the green screen moved over enough, then you get wait a minute, over on this side. See that? You see behind the green screen. So I think we're okay. I think we're all right. But who knows? Who cares? I don't. Do you? Wait a minute. Let me see here. If I move this over, if I move this over a bit. Wait a minute. I'm just hold on, folks. I'm just moving stuff. There we go. There we move it over a little bit. Everything's fine. Okay. And now look how red my face is because of the exertion I put out. Anyway, it's time for me to go see somebody who joins us every week at this time. And his name is Phil Meyer. And if we just do this, there he is. Oops. I got to take this out of here. Charlie Wallace is still waiting to get put online, and so I really should get all this stuff taken care of before I go on the air, and I did. I thought I had it all settled, and just getting me right here takes a while. Anyway, hello, Phil.
Hey, happy Wednesday. But I don't know how happy it is for a lot of people.
You're going to start with the news immediately, and I don't.
No. I'm just saying that I want to have a good attitude about what's going on, and
you want to have a good attitude about what's going on.
Yeah, I don't want to.
I didn't know there was any good attitude to have.
Yeah, well, I feel for the people in Texas. And for what happened, and but
you're not willing to do anything about it.
Well, that's not true.
Oh, okay. So you're going to do away with guns?
No, I don't think that's the answer.
Oh, I see. That's something. What is the answer, Phil?
Well, the answer is help people with mental issues.
Yeah, right. That's not the only thing we have to do. You know.
There's a lot of
I
things.
mean, you got this guy Abbott down in Texas, their governor, the moron of a governor, who said this was a demented human being. Well, so is Abbott. You know, a guy who in his state made it legal for anybody to get a gun for any reason without having a background check.
Well, that's his state, and the people of that state continue to vote him in.
No, they only voted him in, I think, once.
Oh, well, he just didn't want to leave?
No, he's going to have to run again this year, and he may lose.
He's running against Beto O'Rourke.
I think
right?
so. I think so. We're not sure.
And Beto O'Rourke is very anti-gun.
Yeah, good for him. I'm voting for him.
Well, you moved to Texas. There's
when are you going to say it's time for us to do something about this gun problem? You know, I heard Ted Cruz yesterday say the most stupidest thing I heard anybody say. They said, do you think we should do something about gun control? And he said, well, what we have to do is get more cops on the street. And I went, more cops on the street would not have helped this situation or stopped it from happening.
Well, it happened to be an elite force of SWAT cops that were in the area that stopped.
No, you're wrong.
This kid.
You're wrong.
Yeah,
you're wrong.
Yeah, they were from C.
No, you're wrong.
What do you say?
The person who went in and tried to stop it was a member of the Border Patrol.
That's what I'm saying. It was
he's not an elite cop. He's a member of the Border Patrol.
He happened to be part of a special group of Border Patrol.
Yeah, but this was after the kids had gotten killed, okay? You know, to have the feeling that more cops are going to solve this problem is ridiculous. I think less guns will stop this problem.
Well, you know, we gave Ukraine $40 billion.
Don't go to Ukraine. We're not discussing Ukraine.
Listen to me.
No,
here.
you're pulling something out to take the whole thing and shift its focus.
No,
Let's get right to the question.
Right to the fact is that you need to fortify the schools to keep these demented individuals from entering. Now, if you have a single point of entry, if you have an area that you can close down,
this school had that.
No, they didn't.
This school had that. I heard that tonight.
This school had training.
I heard that tonight on the air. They had training, and they also had limited entrance to the school. And the person who was supposed to be watching out, who was a guard, let this guy in.
Wearing body armor, carrying 2 rifles
and a pistol. He let this guy in.
Well, the kid was carrying 2 rifles. He was wearing body armor, and he had also a pistol. So if he let this guy in, obviously he wasn't very well trained.
Well, Phil, but he was a security guard. He was trained.
It's called a school
resource more
officer.
Cops are not going to solve the problem.
Well,
less guns are going to solve the problem. Why can't you say that? How many kids?
Because I don't believe in
these
that.
are 19 children whose lives got snuffed out because people like you keep standing up for guns.
That's true. I do stand up.
Well, then their blood is on your hands.
Well, I'm glad you think so, but the freedoms that we enjoy in this country are given to us by the people that
Well,
died.
then we have to do away with that freedom. We have to repeal the Second Amendment.
Well, you feel that way. I don't feel that way. I actually feel that the Second Amendment
your solution to this problem is what, Phil? More guns?
No, my solution is more security.
Phil, you know what more security entails?
Yeah,
more guns,
and it also involves more money. That went to some money that went to Ukraine. Money
Phil,
that
it didn't go to Ukraine.
Schools.
It didn't go to Ukraine.
$40 billion.
You're throwing in a straw dog to try and change the conversation. You couldn't be more wrong.
Well, look, there was look at it this way. There was a lot of money that was given to schools to deal with COVID that was never spent. Do you think that money could be put towards securing the schools and protecting our children?
Now we go to COVID. God.
Mhm.
Now we go to COVID. Phil, this school was in a small district.
16,000 people, 4,000 students.
Yeah, most of them, by the way, Hispanic, which tends to let me believe that if there wasn't enough protection there, it was because they were Hispanic, and who cares?
I don't think so.
Oh, you don't think so?
Seems like
Okay.
the sheriff of that county.
He got there in time, didn't he?
Well, that's another reason that people should have guns, because how long does it take for the police to respond? If you had an emergency,
why don't we send all those kids to school with a gun?
and why don't we arm the teachers?
Oh, arm the teachers. Oh, that's a great idea. And suppose one of those teachers is crazy and decides to kill all his students.
You see, the thing is, they vet these people that get the training, that are school resource officers.
Don't you get the idea, Phil? You keep the guns out of the schools, not ingest them into them.
Well, they're arming pilots on the airlines. The whole idea is
let's arm everybody. Hell, I'll get a gun and I'd go shoot up the neighborhood just to protect it.
Well, you see, schools are a soft target for these guys, because they know that people in there don't have a way of defending themselves. So why do you think that they go into these kinds of places? They go in because it's easy. Nobody in there has a gun, so they know that it's easy pickings.
Phil, I'm glad you're not in charge of this problem. You know, to begin with, the way this kid got a gun is he turned 18, and he was allowed in the state of Texas to go into any gun store and purchase as many weapons as he wanted to, and not have to have a background check. All he had to prove was that he was over 18. That was it.
Well, he had to sign a thing that said he wasn't mentally defective, but obviously he was.
Yeah, like a person who's mentally defective is going to sign that. You know.
Well, in the state of Texas, they have that ability. In the state of California, there are more restrictions, but I really believe that if people in the school were armed, and they had more school resource officers that were armed, that some of these mass shootings wouldn't occur. If you look at these kids, what do? They play video games. What
does this have to do with anything, Phil?
These are the things that desensitize them.
Phil, I play those same video games where you kill people. Okay?
Right.
Okay? Do I own a gun? Do I want to go out and kill anybody? If anything, that is an outlet for them.
I don't think so. I think it's a training ground.
Well, you don't think so, but psychiatrists and psychologists will tell you that it doesn't desensitize them in many cases, because these kids aren't as stupid as you are. Okay? They know what they're doing. They're playing a game. They're killing pixels. All right?
Yeah.
And that's it.
The difference between reality and fantasy, the line gets crossed.
Oh, well, how come it never got crossed with me? How come I play all those video games and I don't even own a gun?
Let me ask you this. When you grew up and you were a kid, were there any school shootings like this?
No, but I'll tell you what. I had a holster, a double holster with cap guns in them.
Right. And
why didn't that desensitize me?
Well, it probably did, but
and I went around shooting everybody. Phil, why didn't you get down? Look, the basic problem with this is guns. That's the basic problem, Phil. And you don't seem to be able to get it into your fat little head.
You're blaming inanimate objects for the actions.
They're not inanimate,
of
Phil.
people.
They're not inanimate.
They don't fire
when they're in their hands.
The
When they're in the hands of somebody, they become animate.
Yeah, they don't fire until somebody pulls the trigger.
Oh, well, tell me. That's interesting. I didn't know that, Phil.
But it's a person that pulls that trigger. You can't blame the gun for this kind of behavior.
Okay. I can't blame Governor Abbott for what he did.
No.
Oh, he isn't responsible for any of this, Phil?
Not at all.
Not at all. Boy, you are so terrible. You're one of the reasons. You're why we have problems in this country, Phil.
Yeah, it's a right to own a gun.
No, it isn't a right.
Like it is the right.
We got to do away with that right because you kids haven't been playing with your toys well.
Oh, okay. So 200 and some odd years of playing with the toys well, and now we have.
Did we ever play? Wait a minute.
Society.
Did we ever play with them well? We had a civil war where we didn't play with them well. We've had organized crime that didn't play with them well. We've had, this thing of mass shootings is a recent thing because they never really had the technology to be able to buy the kind of weapons that would be able to do this kind of mass destruction.
He had a carbine, an AR-15, which stands for Armalite rifle, and an AR-15 has got a 22 caliber bullet. It's a larger bullet, but it's 22 caliber. It's a 2.22.
Does it have a magazine?
Yes.
Well, that's your difference.
Well,
it's not like he had to put in a new bullet for every kid that he shot.
No, but he had to pull the trigger for every.
Oh, he had to pull the trigger, but he didn't have to put in a bullet.
He had a specific action. In Japan, they don't allow guns.
Can I ask you what these rifles are possibly good for?
Self-defense, target practice.
Oh, self-defense?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And target practice, I see. Well,
you see,
this was definitely target practice, Phil.
Yes, it was. People want the same kinds of weapons that the military and the police have. And and that's the kind of weapon that the military and the police have. It's always been that way. Even in the times of the Revolutionary War, we had flintlocks and muskets. The people had flintlocks and muskets. Now the police have pistols, 9mm Glocks, things like that, and they have M4s and AR. Well, they don't usually use AR-15s because an AR-15 isn't a fully automatic gun. But an M4 is. It looks very similar, and so now fully automatic guns are allowed in some states.
Shame on you, Phil. Shame on you.
Well, I don't.
Shame on you because nowhere in this whole discussion have you mentioned that there are 19 young lives that are no longer in existence because of this oversight on the part of the governor of
I
Texas.
thought the first thing I said was, I feel bad for what happened.
Well, that's wonderful, Phil, that you feel bad for them. What are you going to do to stop it?
Well, I told you, you need to finance the schools or give the schools the finances to have a single point of entrance, have more school resource officers, arm the teachers, train the teachers, and stop this scourge that is happening because
how are you going to force a teacher to have a gun in there?
You don't have to force them.
Okay, so what this guy did is he went into this classroom, locked the door behind him, and then killed all the kids and the teacher in the room. Okay?
Right.
Suppose that teacher didn't want to have a gun.
That's their choice. That woman, she had a choice. But there are other teachers.
She didn't have a choice. Most teachers don't want to bring a gun to class.
How can you say that?
They've taken surveys and they found out that teachers feel that if they brought a gun to class, they would be taking their eyes off the real job that they had to do. That it would,
which is protect those children,
and that they don't think that necessarily because they had a gun they would be able to protect themselves.
Well, they get
Phil,
training. It's a voluntary.
You're refusing to look at what the problem is, and that's our preoccupation, our sexual love of the American weapon.
I disagree with your premise that the problem is guns.
Oh, okay. I know you do, and that's why you're an idiot.
Well, and that's why we're having this discussion.
Because you're an idiot.
Well, what do you want? You want somebody that goes, Alex, you're so right.
No. This isn't a right or wrong. There are 19 kids and 2 adults who are dead as a result of this kid. There's 21 people whose lives were snuffed out And something has to be done about it. And all you're saying is, well, we just have to train people, and we have to have more entrances.
You have to realize
you have to do this, and you have to do bullshit.
The society has changed. There is too much of this.
There are too many. You know what it is? The society has changed. There are too many people like you in this society.
Well, let me tell you something. If you were in a situation where you had a shooter come in, let's say you're sitting in your studio and at a radio station, and some shooter comes in, wouldn't you want someone trained and armed to stop that that incursion, or
I
that
don't
person?
know what I would to begin with. First of all, in a radio station today, they wouldn't let me do the kind of show I used to do, where I have a live studio audience every day. That would become an impossibility. Okay, right. Plain and simple. They would not.
Fair?
What?
Is that fair?
No, it's not fair, but I know that wouldn't be. So I can't tell you what I would do or not do, but the one thing I would tell them I didn't want was an armed security guard. He could be armed, but not visually armed.
Well, they don't have to be visually armed. They have to be prepared to do what's needed. I volunteer.
I know with the Jewish thing, yeah.
Right. Well, hey, there's there's a lot of anti-Semitism.
Yeah. When's the last time somebody attacked the shul you are guarding?
Well, we had some police incidents where we repelled an individual that.
Did he have a gun?
No.
Okay, well then you can't.
But he made threats.
It doesn't even come into the discussion.
But he made threats. He made threats, and
threats are one thing. Action is another. This kid didn't make threats except on his Facebook page at the last minute, saying he had killed his grandmother. Okay, and that he was going to kill. That he had killed his grandmother.
Right. That was the second threat. The first thread was, I'm going to kill my grandmother. The second one is, I killed my grandmother.
And now I'm going to go
The
find
third
a school.
one is, I'm on my way to an elementary school to kill everybody.
Mm-hmm. And that happened at the last minute. That wasn't like something that had been up there for a day or so people could find out who this nutcase was.
It doesn't take long for Facebook to take down a Republican post that says, oh, the election was fixed. If you do that, they're able to find that information like that. And,
to begin with, they are not. They don't take down things that say that if you write that you feel that the election was fixed, you have the right to write that on these social.
You may have the right to write it, but they put you on probation.
No, they don't. No, they don't. Not for that.
There has been a lot of people.
Tell me somebody. Tell me somebody.
Melanie Morgan, who was a disc jockey on KGO, I believe.
No, it was KSFO. You're wrong.
It was her husband was the no, I think he was on KGO.
No, she was on KSFO. I know my radio in the Bay Area, Phil. Trust me. Yeah.
Well, anyway, she was taken down for her statements.
And what was her statement? What were her statements, though?
I can't remember those.
Well, then you don't know what they were, so we can't discuss why they took them down.
Well, let me give you another example that I do know about.
You're getting off the subject here.
No.
You're getting off the subject.
Our friend Hunter Biden. All right.
Phil, Hunter Biden doesn't enter into any of this.
The New York. You asked me about suspended accounts. The New York Post was suspended for putting out the story about the laptops and Hunter Biden. They said it was disinformation. Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, we found out it was true.
No, it's not necessarily true. Oh.
What, you're going to stick your head in the mud for throughout this whole story?
Basically, because I think it's a non-story.
It's not a non-story. Look at all the information they got from it.
What did they get from it, Phil?
Well, they found out that Hunter Biden was involved in taking money from foreign governments. And they're finding out that he was Hillary Clinton. That's what they found. They found that, and Durham found this through the Sussman thing. But what is happening here with disinformation, where they're
Phil, to begin with, anything they took off of Hunter Biden's hard drive was stolen material.
No, he left it for 3 months.
But he
never picked it up.
But it was stolen material.
No, the guy gave it to the FBI.
He did. He shouldn't have given it to the FBI, and they shouldn't have opened it up.
Well, his job was to transfer those files. Are you saying that because this information...
Phil, we don't know what's in those files. We haven't seen them. You're just reading about all this on your right-wing wacko
well, that's
news
because they're
media.
the only ones that will provide the truth about this.
Yeah.
All right, back to guns. I don't feel that...
Do you mind if I bring some people in here?
No, I don't mind at all.
Okay. Well, hold on a second. First, I want to get rid of your the thing that says who you are, because I don't want that to be under somebody else who isn't you, because I don't think anybody wants to be you right now.
Why do you put that up there?
What?
I just wonder why you put that there.
What? Phil Meyer?
Yeah.
So everybody knows who you are.
I know who I am.
No, they don't. You're not like a big star here.
No, they love to hate me. But...
Yeah, here we go. We'll admit, let's see here. Here's Kevin, and we have Matt Duckworth tonight, and we have Charlie Wallace, and we have Alan. Okay, anyway, continue, Phil.
All right. Well, you know my stance on guns. I know your stance on guns. I just don't feel that it's the gun that creates the problem. It's the person that creates the problem.
Anybody like to argue with that fact? Yes, Charlie.
I just want to point out that when we had the assault weapons ban in effect, we did not have these mass shootings. It was only after the assault weapons ban was allowed to expire that we started having all of these mass shootings. And we've had more than one mass shooting a day.
We've had more than one a day. Yeah. Since the first of this year. Yeah.
All right.
Yes, Alan.
So I'm gonna take you guys outside the box. So I think that everybody here will admit that the Republicans are never going to give in to gun control. Stop fighting them. How did we stop guns from getting on airplanes and stop that type of terrorism hijackings? We set up TSA, and we could do the same thing at a lower level. Like Phil said, one way in and one way out through a metal detector, with preferably an armed police officer, somebody that is willing to put his life on the line, not a security guard. And that will stop a lot. I mean, an 18-year-old kid...
Okay.
Wait a minute, Alex.
Stop it. What's the psychological effect going to be on those students who every day have to go through a metal detector?
Not as bad as getting shot.
Less than losing their friends to being killed.
Yes, Charlie.
Republicans are so worried about the psychological effect on kids of having to wear a mask during a pandemic, but they have no problem with the psychological effect of kids having to be worried about being shot to death every day they go to school.
Kevin, Matt, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah. I don't want to live in a country where I go to the grocery store, I go to church, I go to the movies, and there's an armed guard standing there looking over me. I experienced that in the Philippines when I went there on vacation once. This guard standing there in Starbucks, and it's not a pleasant experience. It sucks.
Yeah.
Wait a
minute. Hold on a second. Kevin wrote me yesterday. And the first thing he wrote me, it just said, fuck. And I knew exactly what he was referring to. And then he wrote me and said, I'm sitting here anxiously waiting for my daughter to come home from school, hoping nothing happened. Absolutely. That's the person we have to protect in this country. The parents of America who are afraid of sending their kids to school because people like Phil gotta have them guns.
America has changed, and it's changing the way. 20 some odd years ago, I was.
What it's changed is you got a bunch of Republicans who are the biggest fucking assholes in the universe. They are inhuman. And I heard Abbott today say, "Oh well, this person was a monster." You know who the bigger monster is? Abbott.
Well, look, 20 years ago, I went to the High Holy Days in Paris to an Orthodox temple.
Here we go.
Now,
Changing the subject.
what happened was I was greeted by somebody with a rifle, and they made sure that I was not a threat to the people that were praying inside. I was in Mexico. Wait a minute. I was in Mexico. I was in Acapulco. I was walking on the beach. There were soldiers up and down with weapons. I thought it was very unusual at the time, but what I've realized is that we're only catching up with the rest of the world, which is a very dangerous place, and you need to be in a position to
turn off your mic. Wait a minute, hold on a second. Jeff,
Can you hear it at all?
Jeff,
I can hear it.
Jeff, turn off your audio if you're going to talk to
Go back to
Pam.
that switch that was there.
If you're going to talk to Pam, turn off your.
Well, maybe they
Sorry,
want
guys,
to
I'm trying to figure out why it's not working. Okay, just
Turn it on.
No, we can hear you. It's working.
Yeah,
not anymore.
Oh.
But I'm having problems with
Well,
my
you just muted it,
earplugs.
so they can't hear you.
No, you haven't been
it's
muted.
not muted.
You're not muted. We can hear you.
Yeah.
Very
Now
good.
you're muted.
Yeah, now you're muted. Anyway, Kevin, tell me about how you felt yesterday. I mean, it was when you wrote me that note about worrying about your kid and waiting for the kid to come home from school.
I was worried about my kid. I was worried about my grandkids who are even younger.
Yeah.
Same situation. There's points that Phil has that he's kind of right in a way that it's the people that are pulling the triggers. But the thing that's frustrating is exactly what the senator from Connecticut said.
Murphy.
What are they doing about it? Not a fucking thing. They're not doing anything about it, and they need to do something about it. And the only reason that nothing is getting done is because the Republicans stand up there and they want to play with the NRA and stand up there and say, no, 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 we have our rights. And Senator Cruz stood up there again today and said the same damn thing right after Governor Twatface sat there and made his little, oh, it's so bad speech, thoughts and prayers. And he's just made the whole speech today about 60 years since anything's happened. Bullshit, the Bell Tower incident happened. I mean, I don't know where he's been. That was the beginning of it. And it started in Texas.
And that wasn't an automatic weapon. It was a high-powered...
It doesn't matter. It was a fucking gun.
I was in Houston when that happened.
These people are just so out of touch, and they just want their power. They want what they are up there and what they represent. That's all it is what they're trying to represent, because of the people down here say, we want our fucking guns. We don't let them make it do that. We want our Second Amendment. That's all it is.
Do you want your First Amendment?
What?
Do you want your First Amendment? Is that one important?
I don't give a shit about that. Who's going to die over a First Amendment?
We're talking about the Second Amendment, Phil.
I understand, but you don't have the Second Amendment.
You don't have the First Amendment. You say
without the Second Amendment.
You say we're living.
You're diverting.
Yes.
We're talking about.
Not really. They're all important. Each one is just as important as the other.
Listen to Kevin.
We're talking about the Second Amendment. We're talking about guns, gunpowder, bullets, people dying. Okay,
Phil. Phil talks.
Kids, 11-year-olds. They don't do shit. They didn't deserve to die.
No.
Someone whacked out, got a hold of a gun for no fucking reason. 18 years old, walked into a store in Texas the day after his birthday, got himself a fucking gun, went back 2 days later, got himself another fucking gun, and then turned around and walked down the street and shot up a bunch of...
How many guns? How many guns are in this country?
Kids.
How many? Listen to me.
Kids. What does a 10-year-old kid do? Nothing. Nothing.
Look.
What did an 18-year-old kid do?
Get real. Get real. there is how many guns are in this
Why did
country?
he get a
don't
hold
give
of
me
a
that
gun?
one, Phil. Don't
Because
give me
he's
that one.
allowed to.
Why
Wait a
did
minute,
he
Phil.
get? Because he's allowed to.
It
Perfect.
only took
Thank you.
it only
Case
took
closed.
it only took one
He was
gun
allowed
to do
to.
this. I don't care how many other guns there are in the country. It took
Well-
one gun to do it. Yeah,
Wait,
Brian.
so why was he allowed to? Why was he allowed to buy a gun?
Because he was allowed to. That's
No,
why.
no, Phil. Why was he allowed to buy a gun? If I
Because
buy
he
a
didn't-
car, listen to me for a second. If I buy a car, it's for the purpose of driving. If you're buying an AK-47, AK-15, or AR-15, or whatever type of high-performance gun like that, what is the purpose? Are you allowed to buy that for that purpose? Yes or no?
Yes, you're
Yeah.
allowed to buy it.
Phil, can
No.
you go down to 7-Eleven and buy a passport today and go out tomorrow and fly? No, you got to wait 30 days. You got to wait 60 days. Why? Because I got to do a background check.
Well,
You
they
go down
do
to
that in
7-Eleven
California.
Texas, you can buy a
Yeah,
fucking gun.
California.
In
And
Texas,
that wasn't done in Texas. That wasn't in Texas. So Phil, did you listen to what Beto said?
yes.
Okay, tell me the four things that he's asking for.
I know that he interrupted
You
Abbott.
didn't listen to him, Ben. You didn't listen. I asked
Well-
you if you listened to him. Did you
No,
listen
I didn't
to him?
listen to him because I think he's an idiot.
Well,
That doesn't matter.
Well,
we listen to you every Wednesday night.
That's some Thursdays.
So number one, stop selling AR-15s. Do you agree with that? Yes or no?
No.
Okay, Phil.
Universal background
no,
checks.
I go along with Brian. You know,
I agree with
Universal
background.
background check.
hold on a second.
Yes, I agree with background.
I
checks.
go along with Brian.
Federal background checks?
Hold on a second. Can
well,
I
there is
talk?
one. Yeah,
Do you mind?
I was
I
answering.
agree with Brian in what he said, which I think was very important, and that was, hey, you buy a record, you listen to music. You buy something else, you use it for another purpose. Guns only have one purpose. They were invented to kill stuff. Nothing else. I don't care about target practice. That's just practicing to kill
Practice
stuff.
to
That's
kill
practicing to kill stuff.
Well,
but what I'm saying
practicing
is,
to protect your family and yeah, it's for your own protection.
I
and
know
the
very
protection
few
of
people who
others.
were ever
Okay,
protected.
so if I go buy
Okay.
a gun, do I have to not pay taxes anymore?
I want to ask Matt.
That has nothing to do with
Matt's
it.
got his
It does,
hand up.
because I pay
Let's-
taxes for the police to protect me.
I think it's time that we start seeing some of the gruesome, ugly pictures of these kids because the father was interviewed today. They won't even let him see him. They said, no, it's too horrific because his fucking head was blown off.
There's
I mean,
no,
I don't know if people understand how horrible it is.
Believe
I mean,
me,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
You've seen
there's no
people
kid
kill-
there. They have to use DNA to figure out if the kids or not. And you don't know who they are.
The bodies.
Matt,
So
when
bad.
you've seen people that have been killed with a gun, you do not want their picture all over the place. I will tell you, it is very traumatic. It's dramatic. To people like Phil and me, we were both police officers. You do not want to spread that around.
But that's
I
not a person.
understand- I understand what you're saying, but
Yeah.
you don't want. I mean, it's traumatic.
Nothing,
It's not
nothing
good.
is going to happen. Nothing is going to happen. The lobbyists are too strong. There's too much money there.
No, I agree.
Period. Nothing's going to happen.
What could happen is you fortify these schools the way they fortify the Capitol and a lot of other places. Do
Oh,
you know
yeah.
that in the Capitol, the Sergeant at Arms recommended that all of the Congress people carry a gun. That was the Sergeant of Arms at the Capitol. That was today.
What happened to the
Bill.
land of the free?
The what?
The land of the free, where you can walk around and not worry about
Oh,
that shit.
That's changed in the last 30
You know
or
what
40
else has
years.
changed
Why
in the
has it
last?
changed?
You know what's changed in the
Because
last
people
two?
have
Wait a minute.
changed.
What's
Okay.
changed in the last 200 years? I'll tell you what's changed
last
in the
30.
last. No, what's changed in
40.
the last 200 years is the reason that amendment was written wasn't for today. It was for back then, 200 years ago, and maybe had some application because you had to be ready to get your arms together and go fight the British, right? But
And
that.
what about
But
the-
wait a minute. Let me finish, Phil. Please don't interrupt me. The fact of the matter is that if you're going to argue that it's a whole different world today, well, it's a whole different world today from what it was in 1776, and it's time we did away with the Second Amendment. It's not useful or applicable.
It's to keep us from being overrun by a tyrannical government.
Yeah, well, when's the last time that was happening? Outside of the fact when Trump was president.
It's happened in a lot of countries.
I remember all of my teachers, and of all of my teachers, maybe there's one person I would let have a gun. Miss Goodwin, who is about 70 years old, my math teacher, I would not want her with a gun. All my other teachers, I would not want with a gun.
Yeah.
And having a fortress at every single school with cops there inspecting everybody, like Alan is saying, it's ridiculous.
It's insane. Wait a minute, hold on a second. Charlie had his hand up.
Yeah, every police department in the state of Texas was against this Texas law.
What law?
They did away with
Brian?
background checks. Every police department said, no, this is a disaster.
Brian, how many mass shootings have they had at military academies?
And you know what?
None. Zero.
I will never probably have a shooting around here. If I'm lucky, I will never even have that. But it's the whole thing that is happening.
Phil, that's the most insane thing, though, what he just said. Brian.
People have guns.
Wait a minute, let me finish.
Military
I know
academy.
that. No, yes, and do you know something? They don't have any bullets in them.
Well, there are those that do have.
No, you agree with me, right, Alan? They don't have bullets in them.
agree
I
with
know
you,
because
Alan.
I used to go over to the Marin Military Academy, and none of those kids they had like.
That was the
do
kids.
you know that when I was in China, they don't allow their soldiers to carry real guns. They carry wooden guns. That's it. They're not usable
That's
guns.
what they show the tourists. So they
Yes.
just run them over with tanks.
Oh, Jesus, Phil, you're such a moron.
I've been to Fort Hood in Texas here, and the soldiers on the base are not allowed to carry weapons.
But there are
Only the
MPs.
military police. Only
There
when
are
they're
MPs.
training can they have.
There are MPs, and at military academies. I grew up near West
Like
Point.
80,000 soldiers.
Phil,
at
military
Fort Hood.
academies, the guns are not
don't have-
loaded.
I grew up near West Point.
Has to do with this killing. I'm totally lost what the
I'm
military.
saying that I grew up near West Point, and they have
You know,
guns.
it's amazing how Phil completely changes the stakes of the argument.
It has nothing to do with it.
Well,
Listen, Phil, listen to Kevin. Kevin,
Yeah,
what? Tell him.
Look, if the schools had armed
God, I wish I could
officers,
mute.
had a double fencing, and had a choke point where there was only one entry, you would eliminate this stuff. Just like
Okay.
Alan said on the planes, we're not having the hijackings anymore.
So what about recess? Phil, what about recess?
You could go to the school.
You're
What
not
about
having.
recess?
Wait,
Phil, look right here. Look right there. That is the school. That's Castellero Middle School. So you're telling me if this has a double wall with a security guard, I cannot have an AK-47 and kill everybody while they're playing soccer out here?
That's all right.
No, they can't play soccer anymore.
Are you going to do a dome? Is this like a dome project?
oh no! Here's what you do. Here's what you do. Here's what
Crazy!
you.
You guys are crazy. You and Alan, you're crazy about your
Some
ideas.
schools need different fortifications.
Then what is this? What are they going to do here? Tell me
Oh,
what.
let me.
have to figure it out.
Hold on, Phil.
Oh, well, I have to figure it out. I thought you had it figured out with your whole guy there with the choke point and all this bullshit.
Oh, but the
Well, you
Republicans want the land of the free and everything should be open. But no, we got to fortify our fucking schools.
That's because
It's
you
not
have
the
mental
Gotta be
patients.
free. But
That's
we gotta be
because you
free.
have mental
But we gotta
patients.
Put a wall around everything. But we
That's
got to
because-
be free. But we
That's
gotta put a
because
wall
you,
around
Kevin.
everything.
That's
We gotta be free.
because you have mental patients out there that
You guys
people
talking
are
out of
not
both sides of
willing
your ass.
to do anything to deal with. They don't.
Why can't you compromise then, Phil?
You know,
Why can't you?
We were able to stop hijackings with the TSA. And
That's
people
right.
continue
He knows
to
he hears me downstairs.
That's
She's
okay.
trying to slow me down a little.
People continue to fly without a
By the
problem.
way,
Phil,
Scott
Phil,
Myers-
Phil and Alan say they're going to have security guards here, and so all the
Put on
kids
their
will be
guns.
protected.
Here, let me.
So,
Okay.
there's 130,000 elementary schools in this country.
Yeah.
So where are you going to get? Probably you need two. So where are you going to get 260,000 people to arm these?
Well, we have the United
schools?
States Army. We could.
Alan and
Oh,
Phil,
yeah.
there's two right there.
There's plenty of retired police officers that would be willing to do it.
Phil,
I was some 80-year-old security guy.
How are you going to deal with recess?
Okay.
I can see the kindergartens are. I can see
Here's what I'm going to go along with
Phil.
Phil. Okay, I think that we should do with all these schools. We should put higher walls around them, and then we should put barbed wire. You know that razor wire. Up above that, and then we put.
Okay, boys and girls, put on your Kevlar vests. We're all going research.
And every school in America should look like that, you know. And by the way, it gives kids a little advanced feel of what it's like to be in prison.
You could also realize that they let all the mental patients on the street. We didn't have the Zodiac killer.
Who did that?
Well, there I will agree with you, Phil. Thank you. That's where we're going. Mental people on the street.
Right.
Background checks. Identify those people. Help them. Get them off the street. Then they won't get the guns. Identify them.
Right.
Yeah, there you go. Now you're starting to talk a
but
little
that wouldn't work. That wouldn't work. Hold on a second, Brian.
I see the guy talking to the guardrail every day.
You know, as you know, I am not against guns. I'm against the people that pull the triggers that don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Absolutely.
But you keep going into this, we have to have AK-47s. We don't need AK-47s.
Why not?
We don't need them. We need guns to go out and shoot targets. Pistol. Go have a pistol and shoot the targets. That's fine. Go ahead and do that. But get a background check. Don't be able to buy it in 15 minutes at the 7-Eleven. You need to go through a background check. Have a national background check where if you go buy it in Arizona, they'll know about it in California.
We
do
go buy it
in New York, they'll know about it in Alabama.
In California, we do that. And I'm for that nationwide.
There you go. But none of the Republicans will sign that bill.
Our system has failed. We have fail-safes in place.
No, we don't.
Our system has failed because they're not reporting these people that have issues. The schools are not saying anything. The psychiatrists are not saying anything.
Okay, where would they have reported this guy? And how would he have been stopped getting a gun? Where would they report him?
I don't know where.
Okay, so there you
this
go.
guy. But there's been others. What about the guy in Buffalo?
Same thing. Where would they report him?
Yeah, manifesto too.
Well, they were supposed to report him, and there's been 9.
But then if he goes out and buys a gun, or he already had one, how would he know? How would they know?
It fell through the cracks. He should have not been allowed to have a gun because he was arrested before. He had a bunch of issues, and the guy in Buffalo wasn't supposed to be able to buy a gun. It fell through the cracks.
And he voted Republican.
There's cracks in the system that they got to seal up.
No, I'm kidding.
Okay. Yes. Boy, I'm so.
This is what Murphy was bitching about.
Tony,
what are we doing? Nothing.
Tony.
You know what doesn't make any sense is, I think 18 is too young. Now let's if you owned a gun store, Phil, right, and you see a kid 18. When I was 18, maybe I was going to college. I was just getting out of high school. I was buying like a video game system. You see an 18-year-old kid going to buy an automatic weapon like that. Doesn't that raise a flag? Even if I was 18, I'd be like, what is this kid going to be doing with this?
2 points, Tony. 2 points. First of all, it was not an automatic weapon. It was semi-automatic, but that's beside the point. The other point is, if I saw you come in the store the way you are today, I probably wouldn't sell you a gun.
Well, that's a good.
But
I wouldn't be going in for a gun, though. I mean,
that's a start. That's a start, Alan.
It is.
Exactly.
Alex, you see what I'm saying? You know what
he looks like a mass murderer.
No. It's a matter of how hyped up he is to me.
Good. Don't sell it to him.
I don't. Isn't that like? Is it? Wouldn't you aren't you worried to say, listen, this kid's 18. Look how he looks. We're gonna sell this guy a weapon like this.
He looked normal. The kid looked normal.
Yeah, he did look normal.
He's too young, though.
He looked 18.
You gotta be 21 to drink. You gotta be 18.
You know, in California, we have a background check that we do statewide, and usually put it in what's called NCIC, National Crime Information Center. And before you can own a gun in the state of California, you got to be vetted by the state of California Department of Justice and through NCIC. And they just put your name in a computer and it goes off to FBI and they say there's no problem. This kid didn't have a criminal record and had no psychological background that we know of, that anybody knows of yet. So he had the legal right to buy. He would have had the legal right to buy a rifle in California. You got to be 21 to buy a pistol in California. But we do background checks in California. And Texas, they don't. And I think that's a crying shame. And I think we ought to do background checks. It would not have stopped this kid from what we know.
Look, I have a federal firearms license.
Let's all applaud, please. Let's all applaud.
That I've been checked out by the state. I agree that, you know, that people should be checked out and should qualify.
Yes, but Governor Abbott in Texas doesn't believe that, and Governor Abbott is a wholesale murderer.
Well, I don't think so. I think that Governor Abbott is supporting what the state and the people that voted for him voted for.
Supporting the
Abbott
He represents
dollars to it.
I'll bet you, Phil, if they took a poll in the state of Texas today about guns and about what Abbott has done, you would find a majority disagree with Abbott.
Okay, so in a few
and yet
months,
this moron can do anything he wants to do.
Well, wait a minute. In November, they're going to take a poll.
Yeah,
they're going to take a poll, and they're going to decide whether Abbott's the right way or O'Rourke.
I think there's a good chance. Well, no, he'll probably win because they gerrymandered and re-rigged the election in Texas. That's the problem with that.
Always an excuse.
Hold on a second. Charlie, tell us what they've been doing in Texas to make it more difficult for people on the left to vote.
Yeah, well, we of course have this voter ID law that overwhelmingly inhibits the voting of Democrats.
Democrats don't have a driver's license?
A lot of Democrats don't have a driver's license, especially Democrats of color.
You know, I understand that in the United States, 13% of the voters are black, and there's a much higher turnout of black voters in the United States than there is of many other races.
But in the state of Texas, 25% of the black voters, people of voting age, do not have driver's license.
Right, we're talking Texas, not you.
Texas. I don't know
In
what
Richmond,
the whole country is.
In Richmond, where I was a cop, nobody had a driver's license. If they had a driver's license, I never gave them a ticket. You know?
Yes, Matt.
Well, another lingering question is this: why did it take the cops 40 to 60 minutes to kill this guy? I know they did their best, but I mean, usually they get in there within a couple of minutes. So I don't know what's up with that.
Well, when was the last time you had an emergency at your house, Matt? Called the police, and it took 20 minutes for them to get there. They're not sitting around the corner waiting for
That's a good reason for people to be armed.
Well, no, they arrived quickly, but for some reason they didn't go into the room he had barricaded himself in for 40 to 60 minutes. I don't know. Maybe there wasn't a window. Maybe that was the problem. I don't know. But it's a big question.
Okay.
They were waiting for the border patrol, the border SWAT patrol.
They were already there. They were the first ones there.
Yeah. There had been a report because his attack
the U.S.
on his
Border
grandmother.
Patrol SWAT team was training nearby when the call came out, and they responded.
And the guy who shot Ramos, the guy who shot Ramos also was shot in the leg. So I mean, these guys stood up and did the right thing.
So I'll try one more quick thing here with you, Matt. I think the Republicans are fucking us, but that's beside the point. So the other thing is, it's better to have a plan when you go in on an active shooter than it is to just rush in, a police officer here and a police officer there, and one agency here and one agency there, and you don't know the bad guy from the police. So you form a plan and you go in and execute it and find the shooter and stop him.
But
and that may seem strange to you, but those cops want to go home to their wives and kids too.
But we practice.
They put their lives on the line every day for strangers.
Alan, we practice in different venues how to protect those venues, where to take the parishioners, where is a safe area, how to get them out of the synagogue. So we study the the perimeter and the interior of these places to be able to support protecting it in case there was a shooter or a bomber or any of those things.
I keep seeing on the news that ever since Columbine, they were trained that they must go in immediately. There's no waiting allowed. They must go in. That's what they keep saying on the news. That's what,
I don't buy that.
No, then they become bullet sponges.
That's right. They become a target instantly, with no plan.
Even the Bible says when there's no plan, the people will perish, and it's the same thing. When we're going to make an entry, we used to train. We would make a mock-up on the lawn of the building that we were going to enter and serve a warrant, and we would practice how we were going to go in. We do as much intel as possible, see which way the doors swing. And
but that's a warrant. That's not an active shooter, though. That's a little different.
There weren't active shooters when Phil was a cop. That wasn't developed yet.
Those a little different.
Yes, there were, but not as much.
The technology wasn't there.
Yeah.
Oh, it was. It's just we didn't have as many active shootings when we were cops. It's just
all I know is that I don't want Kevin.
I feel really bad for the families. I really do.
Well, then what are you going to do? What are you going to do about it?
Well, I think the Republicans ought to get off their ass and start fixing, or at least attempt to fix some of these problems.
The Republicans aren't in charge. If you wanted to put money,
wait a minute.
You wanted to put money, Alan.
Abbott is a Republican.
If you wanted to put money into schools, it would be very simple for the U.S. government to send that money to the schools. But what they did was they sent $40 billion to the Ukrainians.
Oh, fuck.
What does this got to do with Ukraine?
Well, it's got to do with the funding, that some of that funding could have gone to schools to make them more fortified.
Okay. Why don't you run for Congress so you can be out there voting and putting that out?
I don't know. You got a big mouth and you're a Democrat. You ought to run.
Yeah, well,
you can't arm teachers. The cops would go in there and they wouldn't know who the good guy is, the bad guy is.
That's right. That's why they wait outside and set up a plan, Matt.
Yes, so you have intel.
They end up shooting all the wrong people. So
right, you'll learn who these people are.
It takes time. If you ever watch any one of these things on the news, and the SWAT teams there, the cops, they're not all rushing in until they've got a plan. So you can't blame the cops for that. And unfortunately, if active shooters continuing to shoot, they're going to have to expedite their plan.
The school resource officer at Marjorie Stoneman in Florida hid. He didn't go in. He just took a perimeter position and he hid while kids were being killed.
Right.
That's why.
And that's what teachers would do too. You think teachers are compassionate people that are teaching your kids? You think they're really up to shooting people?
I know at least 12 teachers.
I don't think we ought to arm teachers.
I know at least 12 teachers, and one of them is my father-in-law, and zero have any interest whatsoever in carrying a gun into school. They want to teach. They don't want a gun. They don't want to be a security officer.
I agree with you.
They don't want to back up the cops just in case.
You don't want to
sign up to be
They don't want
to be a murderer.
Yeah, you don't want to be in a position where you need a gun and you don't have it. You know?
No.
If those teachers, and I bet you not one of those teachers would have said, I didn't want a gun if they were sitting in that classroom when that guy came in.
No, they don't even want to be in that position. They want the government to take care of rules to stop stuff like this from happening.
They're not.
They want the government to make sure that people don't get their hands on the guns.
I've been too busy here. I've been too busy here.
Okay, so let's just sit back, everybody arm up, and we'll just sit in our windows and wait for people to come up and we'll shoot the fuckers.
Works for me.
Yeah, I know it works for you. Yeah. Let me jump in here. And to begin with, I was busy trying to keep people out of here rather than coming in.
Well, the one night that we could actually get more people.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if I put them on and then they don't unmute themselves and just sit there, I have to get rid of them. Okay, so please allow me to do my job here.
Yes, sir.
The thing that I'm saying that we're losing sight of here is the question really is, what do we do about this? I mean, you're like the Republicans in Congress. They go around going, oh, we're so sad that everything got in, but they're not willing to do anything about it. They're not willing to even sit down and discuss what to do about it. All they do is send their thoughts and prayers to the families. If they cared about those goddamn families, they do something about this preoccupation we have in this country with guns. It's sick, it's horrible, and it's got to be turned around.
And then Abbott's a speaker at that NRA. That's what Beto was saying.
So
He's
is
a
Trump.
speaker or something.
Yeah.
No.
Trump is speaking there too.
Yeah, and Cruz is going to be down there too.
Yeah.
For three.
So they'll all get
weeks in
together
one
and talk
crowd.
about it. Huh? They'll talk about the tragedy, won't
It's
they?
not the NRA that's shooting up the schools.
No, the
It's
NRA
mental
is
patients.
blocking everything from being there and saying, "Oh, that this is not right. This is not right."
The
And
NRA
you
wants
think
every.
that you are.
They're pushing the fact that they're trying to take away the guns, and they're not.
Yeah,
Well,
they're-
look,
They're
I know.
trying to regulate them.
Obama, they said they're going to come and take your guns away.
They're
Then
trying to regulate
everybody, they're
them.
going to come and take your guns away. When have they ever done that? Come on.
Beto
There's-
O'Rourke jumped up on a table and he says, "Damn straight, I'm going to take your ARs." You know.
Yes, why not?
ARs!
They're called assault rifles for a
No,
reason.
and AR stands for Armalite Rifle Company.
And where do
Corporation.
they use them?
Where do they use them?
Are
use
they
them
not
hunting,
referred
they
to
use
In the
as,
field of
wait a minute,
combat.
hold on a
And they-
second.
and
Are
they-
they not referred to as assault rifles?
No,
Aren't they?
that's your definition.
No,
and
they
it's
use them for
Einstein's
shooting
definition.
ducks, Alex. They use them for
It's-
shooting ducks, and you get
It is
feathers, and you can
it
put
is
them
a
in your pillow.
carbine. It is a carbine. It is no different than what is a Marlin? Alan, what is it? What is that rifle?
Why do they
Change
need?
this
Why?
up. Wait a
What does
minute, wait a minute,
anybody
wait.
need one of these rifles? Tell
Okay,
me.
so change this up. Say he didn't take an AR-15 in. Instead, he took a semi-automatic shotgun that holds 9 rounds. You know, and he fired off those 9 and kept loading. Every time he fired, he kept what we call combat reload, loading the shotgun with more and more ammo.
Okay,
Okay,
That's depressing.
It would do absolutely.
he's still killing
A
people.
shotgun,
He would
absolutely.
He would
I
be
think it's-
more. He'd be vulnerable. When Gabby Giffords was shot in California, I mean in Arizona, they got him while he ran out of bullets and was trying to reload.
Yep, because he
So
didn't
that's
know
why
how
he
to.
let.
But he had a pistol.
He had a 9mm pistol, Charlie. And
Okay.
You
Yep.
want to see what an AR-15 looks like?
No,
No,
Not really.
everybody knows.
I've seen him on TV.
Yeah. Phil's got one he picked
Well,
up.
I can ask
You
any
won't be able to
I
lie.
can ask any 18-year-old
Texas.
in Texas to show me his.
You just go down to 7-Eleven and buy one.
Basically,
Yeah.
basically, it's no
Texas.
difference, you know. Except
Well,
there isn't a
that's the law
height chart
there.
on the way out.
If you don't like it, don't live there. You know.
Oh Jesus!
That's not.
But
a
the
very
people
good
who
ad.
live
Phil,
there-
Phil, that is
a
so
lot of the people who
simplistic.
live there, other
That
than
is so
Charlie-
simplistic. I don't even.
Look,
I
a lot
don't.
of the people, but those are the ones that wanted those laws. I see all of
Phil,
these people.
Phil,
in California.
Charlie wants that law, right?
They
Look,
don't want.
when you
Scott
had
Barker loves that law.
what was it? What was the school? What was the school up in Connecticut?
Sandy Hook.
Sandy Hook. When Sandy Hook happened, that should have been the clarion call right there.
Yeah.
That should have been the moment that we started. Wait a minute. Let me finish, Phil. Please. That should have been the moment that we started talking about it and having a discussion, and that the Republicans said something like, well, let's see what we can do about this, because those kids being killed was horrible. But they didn't feel it was horrible, because if they did, they would have done something about it. And they didn't. And now it's come to this. This is the if I'm not mistaken, this is the largest loss of lives yet in a school massacre.
Second.
Second, what was the first?
I don't know. But let me. Can I run something by
Was
you?
it Stoneman or Sandy Hook?
I don't think Stoneman, I think, was less.
You talking about this one? This one
Yeah.
recently? This is second besides Sandy
Second
Hook.
one.
Sandy Hook?
Sandy Hook was
the
more?
first.
Yeah, 26.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Well, there's still 3 in the hospital, so we still might get there.
How about if the Republicans try this, Bill? Say from now on out that only the police and military have ARs, the AR-15, the M4s and stuff, because civilians, although they do make a good defense weapon, but so does a shotgun. A shotgun actually makes a better self-defense weapon. But I don't want to argue the point with you, Phil. Say they outlaw ARs to civilians, okay? Not take the ones away, just stop selling them to civilians in this country. And I think that would be a great start, because a lot of these shootings have been with an AR, which we both know is a semi-automatic, and you can get magazines that hold 30 or 50 rounds, and that's a lot of fucking firepower. I'm sorry. And I understand your position on the AR, but you know, they're being used wrongfully, not as a hunting rifle, not as a self-defense weapon, not as a target weapon. They're being used to kill children. So why not stop allowing civilians to own them?
Because they are no different than a Marlin. They're no different.
That's a gun manufacturer.
Yeah, well, you know,
Marlin doesn't make an AR.
Yeah, they make something very similar with a detachable magazine that shoots 223.
What's it called?
Marlin 21, I think.
So what do you have to go through?
One.
What do you have to go through to buy one of those?
Okay,
devices?
let me just say something here. This obsession with guns in this country is a mental problem. It's a mental problem that an entire nation has. We are so obsessed with guns, and it is just absolutely terrible. You know, in the old days when you had people living out on the range and on ranches, yeah, I could see having a gun. Every now and then you used to have to kill a predator that was coming after you. Living in Montana with some of those big ugly bears, you maybe have to kill one or two to save your own life. But that isn't life in America today. And we're not talking about living out in Montana up in the hills. We're talking about living in a little suburb in Texas, where this kid got his hands on these guns without any questions being asked, because the governor of that state allowed this kind of behavior to go on, and now there are 21 people dead as a result of it, and a few more waiting to die. Okay? How dare anybody in the Congress or the Senate, Republican or Democrat, deny that something needs to be done to stem this tide?
I agree with you. Something does need to be done. You need to deal
you're going to
with
go
the
back to
mental
your
patient,
old thing about let's arm the teachers and let's arm the
and you need
and
to
we have
deal
to have
with
an egress and an
mental
exit.
defectives that are out on the street and that they're doing nothing about.
We need to do all of that, Phil, but the problem is they're doing nothing. Mental health has been a big problem, and everybody talks about it. Mental health. And like I tell you, the guys here staring at the guardrail and having discussions with them, you know, people have to be helped, and nobody's being helped. I don't care if it's no guns or whatever, but all those things. And the things that Better Work talks about, the safe storage laws, right? Do we have those in California?
Yes, we do.
Do we have them in Texas?
Nope.
I don't know.
I don't know.
The red flag laws, they say extreme risk protection orders.
We have that in
and then
California.
the universal, exactly, and then the universal checks, background checks.
We have
and then stop the selling of all those kind of things that you don't need. Like
when I bought my AR, I waited 30 days before I could get it. And an AR is a modular gun. I put it together by ordering different.
How long do you
parts.
think that would take you in Texas,
You
Phil?
didn't put it together. You're not that mechanical.
How long would you
put together for me?
How long would you take for? How long would it take for you to get that same gun in Texas?
Well, obviously, it only took a day.
Okay, there's your answer.
Amazon Prime.
That's my point.
Well, the people of Texas can vote for those things if they want. The people of California voted, and they want.
No, I think what we have to do is go to the highest level, and we have to put an end to the Second Amendment.
I say, you know, that
repeal the Second Amendment.
The Second Amendment's the problem.
I think the Second Amendment is the problem, because it's been the constant argument for the last, at least the last half of this century and the last half of the last century.
So stop arguing about the Second Amendment and pinpoint.
The Second Amendment has to be repealed. If you want to replace it with something more reasonable, more up to date. What were you going to say, Charlie?
The Second Amendment says well regulated. People like to ignore that part. Well regulated. We have perfect right to regulate guns. It says it right there in the Second Amendment.
Okay,
He's
let's
right.
get rid of the
He's
Second
right.
Amendment, and then let's get rid of Roe v. Wade And let's go back to the
Wait a minute,
olden
Roe v.
days
Wade.
of-
Now you see, you
Stop.
can't. It's
It's a-
apples
let's
and
go back to
oranges,
crossing
Alan.
your legs.
It's apples and oranges. He's Charlie's.
Follow it.
Charlie's absolutely right. There is a qualification in that amendment. In order to maintain a well-ordered militia.
We're going to see, because the Supreme Court has that information up in front of it now, and probably by July there's going to be a ruling on the New York.
We're going a different.
What was it called? A New York.
What'd you say? What'd you say,
Dang.
Kevin?
There's going to be a ruling of
on the Second Amendment.
Yeah, on the Second Amendment.
Right.
In New York.
The Supreme Court.
Yeah, but
Right.
the
Back
Supreme
to
Court
your
is going to have to vote. Is going to have to look at the Constitution and rule as a result of the Constitution. Now, I don't know if they're asking the question about what a well-ordered militia is. That's
Maybe they'll change the
I
wording.
think there's a comma after that.
well, no, the Supreme Court can't change the wording of an
Oh,
amendment.
no, I think there's a comma after the well-ordered militia.
In order to maintain a well-ordered militia, common, the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. They give you a qualifier as to why you can own a gun. Phil, do you belong to a militia?
Yes.
Do you?
Yes, it's called the Sheriff's Posse. Yeah,
Is it regulated?
Yes, it's
sorta.
regulated.
Sorta.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm part of a group that's called the Sheriff's Posse, but you know the other in Contra Costa. But you know there's another issue. The well-ordered militia is there to protect the citizens from the government, from a tyrannical government, which you're very happy having government.
When's the
tell you
last time
when
that
to
this
get
government was taken over by a tyrannical government outside of when Trump was president?
Right.
I don't think Trump was a tyrant. I think that.
Oh no, he didn't.
Obama
The reason he wasn't a tyrant is he didn't have time to be one. He only did one term. If he had gotten his second term, he would have become a tyrant.
He'll get his second term in 2024.
No, he won't.
Oh, please, no.
No, he won't.
Phil's not going to vote for him. He's already said that on air. And
Well, I
everything.
said that
He's
I'd
gonna-
vote
he's
for
gonna vote
DeSantis.
for the idiot in Florida.
I like DeSantis.
See, there you go. He's going to vote. So Trump can't count for your vote again this
Yeah,
time.
and you know, and Jeff would probably like DeSantis. Didn't he go to
Well, you
Yale?
like DeSantis because you hate women.
Why is that?
Because you have no respect for them and the right of them to do with their bodies what they want to.
That has nothing to do with hating women. That has something to do with protecting life.
Oh, I
Actually,
see.
I
Oh,
think
here
it's
we
women
go.
that
Oh,
Bill.
I can't
You don't
stand
care
this.
about them once they're outside the womb.
Ran out of drink. I had to drink so much I ran out.
I didn't even drink anything today.
Everybody,
I couldn't drink. I was vomiting in my mouth.
You ought to drink.
Diarrhea of the mouth.
Oh, my God.
You know, it's not Phil doesn't like women. It's women don't like Phil.
No, that's true too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, yes. Wait a minute. Jeff hasn't said anything tonight. Let Jeff say something.
Yep. I got very little to say, but unfortunately, I really, everything I know about guns, it's pretty much negative. Negative world. I once shot a gun one time. I didn't shoot anybody, but
That's
I
good.
thought, my God, once I did that, these things were too dangerous and two accidents that can happen without even doing anything. You know,
Okay.
you just all you have to pull one trigger and you can kill somebody,
Absolutely.
even if you don't want to kill them.
Absolutely.
And then the other part is, there's a lot of people who have guns at home, and a lot of the people in their family are lost
Or what?
because they have a gun
Uh-huh.
That's right.
and they have a little mental problem and
Yep.
they decide to kill themselves. That's
You're
another
absolutely right, Jeff. You're
You know,
absolutely right.
there's,
Well, and
there's
are any of
probably
you guys-
if you calculate the number of people who get killed by a gun, it's probably in their own house.
Yep. And sometimes if people are protecting themselves, they get killed with their own gun.
That's
Okay?
true, too.
Because they aren't able to push the trigger. And so the presence of that gun, if it hadn't existed in that situation, that person might still be alive because the person breaking in didn't have a weapon. But he had
You
one.
can't shoot somebody for breaking in. Breaking in is not
You're not going to kill
Not
somebody
not in
for breaking-
California, but in Texas you
In
can.
Texas, it's perfectly legal.
Yeah.
Somebody's on this side of my window.
Morally,
One of
it's
them,
not
I
a
can shoot
smart
dead.
move. You
No.
would agree
Yeah.
with that,
Anyway,
right,
Matt,
Charlie?
you had your hand up.
I'd rather have maybe a taser, but I really don't want to murder someone in my life. I'd rather be killed than kill someone.
Well, there's your answer right there.
That's your
Let's
choice.
outlaw guns and
Well-
and let people use tasers instead if they
Replace
want to
taser-
protect
taser could be
themselves.
fun.
Yeah.
Replace guns with silly string. Much better.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. right.
So they do have the 1 year anniversary today from the VTA shooting. So VTA is our Valley Transportation Center, and one of my friends worked there, and his boss was shot. But the one worker came by and shot up nine people, killed him, and then one other person actually committed suicide a couple months later. So this is the 1 year anniversary of that. So
Yep.
that's just another reminder how close that was, for us.
And I don't even remember that one.
No.
You know.
Well, it was local.
That's like a big deal here. Very big
How
deal.
come nobody's shooting up post offices anymore? Used to be postal was becoming a word, a lexicon in the English language.
Supposed to be funny or what?
So
No,
Matt,
I'm just saying that they used to.
Yeah, and what
have
what
all
did they
these
what did they
issues.
do to stop that?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
Well, they
You know,
didn't. They didn't have security guards be there with guns. The last time I
Well,
went to
they've
the
done
post office,
something.
there wasn't one there.
They had,
They
yeah.
gave them a raise.
They actually tore down that building, Brian.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they
BTA.
tore down the building because it was too many bad memories.
So Matt, if you ever come to the Bay Area, look me up, and I have a taser, and I will show you that you do not want to get hit with a taser.
Do yourself a favor.
Oh,
I've been
Don't
hit
Oh
look
no,
with
I
above.
don't want to get hit by one.
But-
I'll shoot someone
But
else.
chances are, if you get fired at by a taser, you're going to survive.
I'm not
You're
volunteering
not.
to be shot by a taser.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say I have one. I'll take care of
Yeah,
that.
well, I would rather be shot by a taser than by a gun.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
any
yes,
of us
yes.
would. Any
You
of
know,
us.
and if you want to talk about defensive weapons, that's certainly an acceptable defensive weapon, is it not?
Absolutely.
Unless the other guy has a gun.
Yes, or a knife.
Well, if he had a gun, he probably would have a hard time shooting it while he was shaking around from the taser.
Is there-
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Is there
well,
anyone
if
here-
if he shoots and you shoot,
What?
you're done.
What'd you say, Matt?
Is there anyone here prepared, other than Phil? I know you would be, to kill someone coming into your house. You're gonna kill him?
No, I wouldn't kill him coming
I
into my
wouldn't kill
house.
somebody coming into my house.
Yeah, me neither. I can't. I don't want to have that on my conscience.
But I'm not afraid to use.
And by the way,
deadly
having
force.
all those guns in
Somebody's
homes is not the
threatening
best idea in the world, because if there's a family argument, there's always a weapon there. You know?
Mine are in a safe.
And,
you don't
no one
argue.
knows, no
Yeah,
one
mine-
knows the combination.
I don't care about
Oh,
you
my-
and your goddamn safe. I'm talking about other people, Phil.
Wait,
They
you don't
should have
argue.
safes too.
I
Don't
don't believe.
argue in the kitchen.
What?
Don't argue in the kitchen. I always argue somewhere else.
Where the knives are.
Knives.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Knives. Jeff had a point. A lot of people are killed in the house as they get in an argument, get upset by somebody, and they have a gun. But some of those people, Jeff,
A good amount of the
would
deaths in
probably
this
kill
country.
people with a knife if they didn't have access
A,
to a gun.
a lot of the deaths in this country from firearms are
all,
domestic
but-
are domestic disputes
Absolutely.
or suicides.
Absolutely.
Okay, another way. I think that that you have to take that in consideration. All those things. What do we need these guns for? I don't give a shit about. I don't think I'm not planning to gun down any Russians anytime soon.
Because it's my right. And
Is there any country that gives out guns to every family?
yes, Switzerland.
Really?
Yeah.
They do?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Every family's required to own a. I believe it's a
Because
rifle.
they
You know,
don't.
the
Because,
homicide rate, it's one
well,
of the
they,
lowest.
see, they argue that they don't have a standing army, but in fact they do.
Yeah, the people.
The people.
people.
Yeah, but
Just
they do
like
have.
us.
They also do have a standing army, but they try to not advertise that fact.
Although Switzerland actually took, oh no, it was Finland took a position for Ukraine against Russia, and Finland is usually neutral like Switzerland is.
Right.
Well, I think it's pretty hard to be neutral where Ukraine is concerned. That is such a, how can I call it, a,
Travesty.
It's just a travesty that you can't argue it.
Well, Putin says he's fighting Nazis.
Yeah, well, where?
In Ukraine.
In his head.
Yeah, that Jewish Nazi who runs the country, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You say
That's what he's telling the Russian people.
They don't believe him. That's
Kevin, let me just ask you, and I hope you don't get interrupted by Phil here. Do you have a solution to this problem? A simple solution, or maybe there isn't a simple one?
There's no simple solution. It's called bipartisan get together, work on the problem, and get it put in place. Get it regulated.
There just seems to be a line drawn in the sand by the Republicans not wanting to talk about this issue.
They'll talk about it. They'll talk about it, and they'll use the Second Amendment as the excuse.
I'm talking about it.
Part of the reason California
Not reasonably.
Part of the reason California was one of the first states in the union or the country to come up with a background check, they called it a cooling off period. It's mandatory 10 days. In some places, the gun store will add another day to it, make it 11, but it's mandatory 10 days, and they called it a cooling off period.
Should be 30 to 45 days at least.
I would agree with you, Kevin.
And it should be national, and it should be in every state, and any gun or any firearm, period.
No disagreement with me.
How come the cities with the most draconian gun laws, like Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, and Washington D.C. have the highest murder rate in the country? The ones that restrict.
You want an answer to that, Phil?
San Francisco. Did you mention San Francisco and their high rate of crime and gunshot wounds, and they've got a high rate? Los Angeles.
Well, also what he's mentioning are major congested metropolitan areas where violence is simply up because of the congestion of population in one area. You're not
Chicago
talking.
Have that kind of a?
Yes.
I'm sorry,
but what's the excuse for this place in Texas being exponentially smaller than, say, a Chicago?
Mental defective.
Again,
mental illness. That's
yes, I know,
and
it's a shame they have a governor that's mentally ill.
No, you can't blame the governor for the actions of a mentally deranged kid.
Why not?
I didn't know that Governor Abbott was a kid.
Because there are plenty of people in Texas that are law-abiding that wouldn't think of doing anything like that.
Just because one person does it, does that make it bad?
Yes, it makes it bad. And they shouldn't allow that one person.
By the way,
to do
let me
it,
ask Charlie something, because Charlie lives in Texas.
You shouldn't take the rights away from every other citizen.
Can I ask a question, Charlie, please?
Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did.
Okay. Well, I didn't know because Phil jumped in there.
Yeah, Charlie. How many of these mass murders have taken place in Texas? Is this the only one?
Oh heck no! There have been a whole bunch of them.
Really?
I wouldn't be surprised if there were more in Texas than there were any other state.
It's like 5 or 6 in the past 5 years, I think.
Yeah.
They did a count from the last 50 years. I think there was 28 mass shootings.
You got Virginia Tech.
In Texas.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that there's been plenty of mass shootings in other areas of the country.
Oh, they put up a graph today. I can't remember how many there were, but they were all over the place.
What was Adrian coming in?
The only time it was low was during COVID when no one was in school.
Yeah, that's right.
Wait a minute, was Adrian coming in?
No, she's naked, so she will not be coming in. You get really in trouble with this show.
That's all in trouble.
He just took a shower. That's all.
Get him delisted.
Oh yeah, well because I wanted to say.
It can't explain it to her. She has no concept of what that is. I started talking to her a little bit about it, but
run around the house in the nude.
And I was gonna start talking to her a little bit more about it in detail today because it just hits me hard today when I'm picking her up.
Yeah.
She doesn't have that concept. So.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to use her as an example of why we want to be careful about guns. Yeah. God forbid she should go to school one day and something like this should happen. Forget about it happening in her classroom. Think about it just happening in her school and how it is going to traumatize her. It isn't just the 19 dead kids. It's all the kids in that school who've been traumatized by this. And by the way, almost every kid I saw who was killed, in fact, every kid who was killed was Hispanic.
Yes, they were.
Yep.
I think all the kids
And
at
it
school
was
were
a Hispanic that did
The
it.
Latino
Yeah.
community,
Yeah.
if I was Brian and somebody had shot my kid, and like I would do everything in my power to make sure that I found the shooter before the police did. And I
100%.
You know,
Yeah, and Alex, I know you think about how you have no kid.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference between people that have kids and if you don't. I know. Something like that happened to her. I know I'm going to prison the rest of my life.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Listen, there's our music. By the way, there is no Jack Bishop show tonight. There's no intersection because Jack is in the hospital, I
Well,
think.
we get it off.
Again?
We don't need to
On a
stop.
banana peel again.
We don't
What?
need to stop. I'm exhausted. I don't know
We
about
can-
you.
Then you leave and let's just yell at
Hey,
Phil
I
and
can-
Alan
I
for
can-
an
I can do
You,
that.
you had 41 at one point. 41.
We have 41 right
41.
now.
Oh,
hour.
really?
They liked us beating up on you.
Well, wait a
that's
minute.
why.
You guys wanna keep going at this?
Sure.
I got to pee.
Yeah.
Who cares? You're not.
Go
The
pee.
show's not about you.
Yeah, it's not about you, Phil. You can go pee.
All right.
Go pee. Come back.
Could use a break without.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Okay, so I mean, so
Oh,
we don't
thank
have
God
to
he's
sign
so
off
good.
immediately. We can stick around a little bit here.
He's got a bladder like a woman.
He's gone now. I
God,
just
every
I
time
just
he
don't.
goes
I
somewhere,
just
pull over. I gotta piss.
hold
Pull
on a
over,
second.
I
Hold,
gotta-
hold on a second. Let me say something, please, Alan. I don't understand film. There's no reason within him. There is this dogmatic attitude about things, and it has to fit the company line, or he doesn't believe it.
He's a smart guy, and you and I both know him, Alex. And
Uh,
I gotta tell you, sometimes I think he does it just to pull people's chain.
Yeah.
I believe that. He'd never admit it, but I believe that. We talk about all kinds of stuff, but the only thing we argue about is politics. And I gotta tell you, a lot of times he'll send me messages. Trump was the greatest president ever, and I'm like, no, he wasn't, and he just knows it'll get my goat.
Wait a minute. Hold it. He's back.
Okay, everybody, let's go back to talking about the color of the paint.
Yeah.
So before they had, remember Agnes, the mental institution over here.
Agnew.
Agnew, yeah, Agnew. And I don't know the history because I know a lot. I think a long time ago they used to have a lot of those mental hospitals or something like that.
I worked right next to
I
it.
mean, Phil, is that what you're asking? Is that what you're saying? We need to spend more money on building up mental institutions again, the ones that we've already closed down? Because I don't know how many are still around.
Yeah, because
No.
Reagan went in there and closed down all the mental.
Absolutely. Reagan is the fault.
You can't put these people in prison, but you need to give them some help. I mean,
Yes.
a lot of
Why
these
not just-
people
but
are on
the guy-
drugs.
I
They're
know, but
living
the
on the
guys-
street.
But the homeless guys down here that we think are a little bit mental, how are you going to pull them and bring them in there?
Well, some of them don't need it. They're not a danger to
But
themselves.
some do, and some could be that trigger point,
Well,
right?
Why don't you call the police and let the San Jose
Well, we should take care
Oh
of.
no! I have no. We've had an incident out here when they crashed the car across my lawn, and we talked about that. And one of the cops is from Oakland PD, and said now he just transferred to San Jose. He said San Jose they're going to do the same program that they had in Oakland, and he said it doesn't work. They go ahead and build this area for them, and nobody comes. They said these programs just don't work for them.
I just want you to know that was a good picture of that car across your lawn.
Oh, thanks.
And by the way, that's the reason we shouldn't have guns, right there.
Because cars crash into lawns.
And this one too.
And that one too.
So Stephanie, just to let you know the plan, right? My friend Phil, this guy, he's gonna put a dome over your school.
And barbed wire.
Nobody can shoot into you, so you'll be safe the rest of your school
This
year.
is why behind me, this is Oakland, and this is why it's not working in Oakland, and it's not going to work in San Jose.
We don't want to see some fucking photograph you pulled off the internet.
It's actually his backyard.
This one I did pull off the internet.
Yeah, and what's it supposed to prove? That there's
It
homelessness?
just shows all the homeless.
So that there's homelessness, another thing we don't do anything
Right.
about?
And that's what Oakland has got 35% more homeless, and most of these people have mental issues.
They went broke having
How
to
are
buy
you-
carpet. No.
How are you going to get them into the hospitals that they can get help if they need it?
Well, because if you find people sleeping on the sidewalk that are drunk and that are on drugs and that are a danger to themselves, you can bring them in at least for 72 hours. Up to 72 hours is called Welfare and Institutions Code 5150.
That's right.
And you use that to get them off the street and to get them cleaned up.
And
get
this
them
this
help.
applies
This
applies to keeping guys away from going into schools with guns. How does that apply? You're just bringing up a whole different subject. You know,
Well, I
you
thought we
just
were on something
derail.
new.
You
You were
derail
talking about
every
crazy people.
derail every conversation.
Okay,
Oh
they
well,
were
we
talking
wouldn't have
about-
these problems in the school if we had more money because we didn't send it to the Ukraine.
Right.
You make no sense, Phil.
Well, no, it makes a lot of sense.
Oh, it
because
makes a lot of
they
sense. So
say
what do
that
you want to
there's
do?
no money.
You want to not send that equipment to the
No, I
Ukraine and
wanna
have
send
those people get
equipment, but
killed?
I want to have money for the schools to fortify them. I don't want
That's up to
children
the state.
being
In that
shot.
state, it's up to the state of Texas.
Well, I don't want people being shot.
What's
but
the
if
state
you
of
can't-
Texas doing to protect their people once they've made laws allowing guns to be
Doesn't matter.
rampant?
You know, we're all in different states, and you're
Oh,
talking
look,
about a federal.
look, wait a minute. There's a
federal
teenage.
issue.
There's a little girl who's acting like a bag lady.
Yeah. How are you going to get all of the people safe nationwide? You have to.
We're
do
right
it
back where
federally.
we started. I think we better call this to a close
All right.
because this is going to go around.
Well, I'll let you guys talk
No.
if you want. You
No,
know,
no. I think it's time to go.
Adrian's trying to move her chair in here to sleep in here and listen to you.
Oh, really?
My last thought is we tried it your way for the past 50 years. Give us 50 years.
Yeah,
and
give
let's
us
see how it
50
works
years
out.
to try it our way.
If it
Very
doesn't
good.
work out, we'll go back to this
Very
shit.
good, Matt.
I like
you know.
that, Matt.
And
That
also, it's
sounds
my
good.
theory.
thank you.
You know, there she is. She's dancing now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you'd move out of the way, Brian, we could see her.
yeah. Anyway, thank you, Phil. Thank you, Matt. We really appreciate your call tonight.
Sure thing.
Kevin, I hope this didn't get too anguishing for you because I know how you can get a little gut wrenching going on there, and
I think he worked a lot of that out tonight when Phil was talking.
Nope. Nope, not even close.
not even close.
And if this was my shot, it would be sharp.
Yeah. Let me thank Alan. Let me thank Charlie. Charlie, I'm sorry you live in that state, but maybe you aren't. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it. Tony, thank you for being here. And Adrian, thank you, and that guy who's with you for being here. What is that? Her? Is she practicing for a school dance or something with that whole thing?
Her comedy career.
Her comedy career. Anyway,
Oh, and you're welcome. I'll send you my bill.
everybody give a big wave goodbye. I'll give a big wave goodbye at you, and I'll say goodnight also to all the people who are listening out there. Let me just end this and thank you. There were a lot of you listening tonight. It's a subject that it's sad that we have to have this discussion. Okay, it's not a good discussion to have, but we're going to have it. And we're going to keep having it because there are going to be more deaths and more schools and more venues and all these soft targets, as Phil calls them. And it's a shame. It is just a shame that we allow this to go on in this country, and that there's a certain part of the American public that really don't want to have a discussion about it and figure out how do we solve this problem. Anyway. I love having you all here, and we'll see you again tomorrow night. Same time, same station in life. In the meantime, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Night, everybody.